We're back to another podcast episode of Essential Dynamics, Derek Hudson's perspective on business and how it works, and also life. I'm Reed McCollum, your very handsome host, and today I have in the studio Mr. Derek Hudson himself, the guru. Derek, welcome to the program.
Reed, it's great to be here, even though you keep calling me a guru and I'm not, but it's great to be here and excited about our guest today and the conversation which we anticipate will blow everyone away.
Well, who is our guest?
Our guest is Michele Hecken, and I'm going to get, in fact, we're going to have a good conversation about Michele's story because it's super cool.
Okay.
But Michele right now is an executive coach. And so she helps entrepreneurs, high-performing entrepreneurs, perform even higher. And she probably has a better way of describing it than that. So first of all, Michele, welcome.
Thank you, Derek. It's an honor to be here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation together today.
Well, it's great to have you, and I hope that you studied up on the reading material on essential dynamics because there will be a test later on. But first, we want to hear about your personal journey because I know that you've got some really interesting twists and turns in your story that resulted in you being a business leader here in Edmonton. Maybe we could just get started with how did you first of all get interested in being in business at all?
Great question, Derek. Well, I was born in Toronto to a mom that was Canadian and a dad who was German. And that's relevant because I grew up with both languages, English and German, fluently. And also my parents couldn't really decide where they wanted to live permanently. So we also moved back and forth between Germany and Canada. So not only did I grow up with two different languages, but I also grew up in two different cultures. So throughout that path, I was always told, oh, you're going to be you should be an interpreter or you should be a translator and all of that. And I wanted to have nothing to do with it. I wanted to be a journalist and an artist, and I did not want to be a translator at all. However, lo and behold, when I was in university studying languages and law, I met this fellow who was translating books for a publishing house, and he was making quite a bit of money. And I thought, well, that would be fun. I can do that. So that's how I got my feet wet in translation, was at university in Germany, where I translated a book called Quantum Leap. If you guys still remember that TV show that came out in the 80s, I translated that book into German.
Okay, so you may not know that Reed at that time was in Hollywood. You probably know some of those people, Reed.
Well, I touched shoulders with some of those people, yes, but I never worked on Quantum Leap. I would have liked to.
That's super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Had I known the translator was going to be a guest here, I may have pushed harder to be working on that show.
It was just a book. It wasn't the show. It was just the book. So, basically the German broadcast network brought the show to Germany, and then obviously the book sales went along with that, and I translated the book. So that was my first foray into translating. And
super cool.
Yeah.
So what do you do now, Michele? We've just met here in the studio. I'm wondering, who are you? What is your quest? How did you become Michele?
How did I become Michele? Well, I'm still becoming Michele, as we all are still becoming the best version of ourselves. And but how did I become Michele? I feel like the journey was really what made it interesting for me. When I started my business, I was 22 years old. 23 years old. I had two children under 2. And I was doing these translations. I'll get to your question.
Yes.
As to what do I do now?
I trust you. I'm interested.
Actually, I could easily start with that. Right now, I'm an executive coach and I'm writing a book. My passion is helping successful entrepreneurs create more value in their business while living their life of their dreams without burning out. So that is my purpose my path right now, to use your language.
I'm just going to stop you right there, Michele, because your business model is built on purpose X and purpose Y.
Yeah.
Purpose X being good business, purpose Y being good life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I find that fascinating, and we'll get to that. But I just wanted to,
Absolutely.
My question first.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing now, and the path has led me here because as I built my company, I started it with a fax machine, basically, and a very old computer. We moved back here from Germany in 1993 with my two kids. By that time, they were like 1 and 2. And I had one client in Germany that was a car manufacturer, and I did translations for them. And they were really upset when I told them I wanted to move back to Canada. And I read this article about a lady, a translator in Australia, and she would go play at the beach and surf, whatever, all day long until 3:00 when her clients in the US would wake up. And that's when she would start translating. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. I'm moving to Alberta. That's 8 hours behind Germany. So what that means is when my client goes home at 5:00, it is 8 or 9 a.m. for me. So I can do all the work and have it back to them when they go back to work the next day. And so that's what I offered. And I offered it through this beautiful invention called a fax machine, which was so exciting in 1993 and 94. So yeah.
So you invented time travel is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
She did a quantum leap.
Yes.
Instantaneous translation. I was going to say I put in my email, but I was working in the 80s and the 90s. Stack it up on that fax machine, hope all the pages go through.
Yeah.
And come back the next morning and hope there's an equivalent pile in English. Is that right?
Yep. Pretty much.
Wow.
Exactly. And, I remember one night waiting, like it's 2:00. I'm working yet another 20-hour day. I should be really happy because these rolls of thermal paper fax are coming in. And so business is rolling in. But I've now had months and months of 20-hour days. And I knew that meant I wouldn't see my kids, I wouldn't play with my kids at night, and it was another night of takeout. And I remembered that at the end, when I finished all the translations, I actually had to fax them back, and I couldn't go to bed because I needed to wait for that confirmation that everything went through, and sometimes it didn't. So sometimes that was an extra hour, right? Just waiting for everything to go through.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hardships we went through with faxes. I was a consultant, and we would send reports by fax or proposals. And if that confirmation didn't come back, it didn't go. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So how did you break that log jam of? I'm assuming you hired someone, but I'm sure that was a big decision.
It was actually one of those nights when I stayed up till 2:00 waiting for the confirmation, and I'm listening to my answering machine, just, waiting so I can finally go to bed. And the first message on my answering machine is my nail tech. And she's like, "Hi, Michele, you have not showed up for your 3rd appointment in a row. We can no longer have you as a client unless you pay us up front." I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. Listen to the next message. Beep. "Hi, this is your doctor's office calling. You have missed your health checkup today. Please be advised that we have a wait list for new patients." I'm like, oh my goodness. And then the last one was my friend who I hadn't seen in weeks telling me that, she misses me and she hadn't seen me. And I realized that I was getting fired from my own life.
Wow.
I was getting fired from my own life. And I went upstairs and, I looked at my girls, the little angels sleeping in their beds. I just lost it. Like I just broke down, and I realized that if I don't stop doing this, they might one day fire me from their lives. And I didn't want that to happen. So Derek, to answer your question, that's when I decided the next day that I was going to hire translators, I was going to hire proofreaders, and I was going to change this cycle. And so within a year, I had fully offboarded myself from doing translations and proofreading myself.
So that was in the mid 90s. Have you done any translating since?
No.
Really?
Really.
Wow. So what did you focus on then? Did you just focus on being the manager?
No, I focused on bringing in business for all of these translators and proofreaders that I had trained who were freelancers but had turned down full-time jobs in order to keep working for me. So it was my responsibility to make sure that they had enough words to translate and that they could keep going. And of course, my mission was to grow my business.
Which you did.
I did.
So one of the, I will use our terms, but one of the drivers then at one point anyway, was the sense of responsibility you had to your translators because they made a bet on you.
They did.
And you need to feed their families.
Yep. And obviously feed mine as well, right? But you're absolutely right. I remember like the translator, and I believe she still works for the company today after I've sold it, but she was with us for like the entire lifespan of our company, one of many. And I had just finished training her. I recruited her, I trained her, we worked together, and she got a job offer. And I remember begging her to please not take it. And so I felt that really strong responsibility, Derek, that I had to keep up my end of the bargain.
Wow. You know, I find it interesting. You know, I'm trained as an accountant, and accounting gets you to the bottom line. And I remember one of our early conversations, Reed, one of the very first podcasts, you're asking me if is it always about the money?
Yeah.
And you know, for the most part, it's never about the money as long as you have enough.
Yeah.
But the money is only ever really about the people. And so I mean, there are people in business just to make money. But when you get into serve customers, then you get all these other responsibilities, including to your employees and their families. And then it's a bigger system than you are. And Michele, what was it like when you moved from burning the candle, just trying to produce the product, to being the overseer and the business generator? Was that liberating for you?
Yes, of course, it was liberating for me, but of course, it also wasn't a linear journey, right?
No. Yeah.
I remember I had said, I trained the translators, I trained the proofreaders, and I remember I had my gym bag over my shoulder, and I was finally going to get to the gym, and you know, I was going to get, I think, my nails done and meet up with my friend, because I was like, you know, rehiring me into my life, into my own life. And I walked into the office, and my project manager says, like, hey, I have 3 lines here just to proofread. Can you just proofread them? Because otherwise I have to send them to the proofreader and open a PO and la, la, la. It's going to be way quicker for you to do it. And I said no. And that was really hard, because it made no sense. I felt so guilty. And, you know, it's like, oh, it's only going to take you 5 minutes to do this. It's going to take me longer. And what I said, but those 5 minutes are going to hold me back and hold us back from growing the business. And of course, nobody really understood that at that point but me.
True. Yeah.
But what I realized, though, where the liberation set in, Derek, is when I reframed it for my team. So I actually changed my job description. It takes time for the human brain to get used to change.
Yeah.
And the brain has to rehearse certain things. And until we've rehearsed it, we react the same way that we always react, right? Every conversation sets the expectation for the next conversation. So the expectation from my team is that I was a translator. I was a proofreader. So I had to reframe that expectation. And I basically said, I have a new job. I fired myself from being a translator. My job is now, I'm the chief revenue officer. That is my job. And once I changed the job description and I explained why I was offboarding myself, it was a lot easier.
So that's profound. Now, after you became good at being chief revenue officer, did that frustrate people because they never ever got to the bottom of their inbox?
No, I think more so it liberated them too, because I was gone most of the time visiting clients. So yeah, I think it really came with that sense of liberation. And for us early on, because we were working across time zones and into the future and into the past, people had to make their own decisions very quickly without asking me. So I don't think they missed me that much after a while.
Oh,
so I want to ask you, we're going to probably have to go to another episode to get to the story of the business, but I want to go back to this other client base that or this other employer, I guess you talked about, which was your daughters. And you said you were concerned that they might fire you. So having liberated yourself from, you're firing yourself from being a translator.
Yeah.
How did that work on the home front, and what's come of that?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Thanks, Derek. Nobody's actually ever asked me that. It was really liberating. I mean, it took time, right? It didn't happen overnight, but I could give myself permission to say no to certain things and say yes to other things, right? When we think about freedom from our business, freedom from the things that we don't want to be doing, it's also important to think about freedom too. Mm-hmm. And for me, that freedom from my business, freedom from translating meant freedom to take my kids to the park, freedom to take my children on a vacation, freedom to just sit and watch a show with them and enjoy dinner and have time with them. And yes, did I still travel? Did I still go to Europe to see my clients? Was I still away from my girls? Of course. But it became more transparent and it became more my control versus let's see how much work comes in today to see how much time I get to spend with my kids. So I flipped it from me serving the business to the business serving me.
Which was brilliant. That's such good advice. Derek, we need to have this lady on again.
We sure do. Can I just follow up with one more question then? And that is, how old are your daughters now? And you can give general terms if you don't want to be too specific.
I don't know. I'm always sharing their age, and maybe they're kind of getting to a point now where I should stop doing that because they're 30 and 31 now. So I think I have a limited runway where I get to share how old they are.
Well, those are fine ages to share.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they're delightful adults. Are they involved in entrepreneurship in any way at this point?
They are and they aren't. Like, they're both actually gainfully employed, very successful. My youngest daughter lives in Vancouver and my eldest daughter they actually just moved to New York. They've been through a fun journey, but they're both very driven, very successful and happy individuals. So I feel like I haven't hurt them too badly by being away and being an entrepreneur.
Well, it sounds like a proud mama speaking, which is awesome. I don't know that anyone can have it all, but I really like where you have made those choices.
I think you have most of it. You may not have it all, but you have most of it. Michele, if people want to get a hold of you, where can they find you on the internet?
They can find me at michelehecken.com. Just as my name is spelled, Michele with one L. And if anyone wants to reach out to me and ask questions, Michele at michelehecken.com.
Derek, the same question goes to you. If somebody wants to get hold of you.
It's almost the same answer. It's derekhudson.ca though.
I see.
Because I am a chartered accountant. So that's what the CA stands for.
I'm delighted. I am glad that you both have places we can reach you, but don't ask Michele to translate. I'm the translator now, and I will translate anything you send to me into Klingon. So until next time, for Brynce Griffiths in the studio, Derek Hudson as our mentor and student of Essential Dynamics. Did I get that right, Derek? I think I did.
Sure.
And our guest, Michele Hecken. We're very grateful to have you here today. I'm Reed McCollum, your very handsome host, saying, consider your quest.